Hiya, this is a presentation on the atom and the electronic structure of the atom, which is at the beginning of your GCSE syllabus. And it is basically one of the fundamentals of chemistry. It's really important to be able to understand this to be able to further understand any form of chemistry. So you will find this at the beginning of your GCSE syllabus. So let's start. Everything is made up of atoms. And if we zoomed in to a piece of gold or to some carbon, we would see individual atoms all lined up next to each other like this. So we've got gold or we've got carbon inside a pencil. And if we went a bit closer into that pencil and zoomed into just one atom, this is what we would see. We would see, first of all, in the center of an atom is a nucleus, which is made up of protons and neutrons. We would then see electrons flying around the edge of the nucleus. So we've got the electron on the orbiting on the outside, then we've got neutrons and protons in the nucleus. And let's have a bit of a closer look. We've got electrons which are negatively charged, -1 charge. We've got neutrons which have no charge, and we've got protons which are positively charged. And as we said earlier, it's neutrons and protons that are inside something called the nucleus. So I'm going to be asking you questions throughout the lesson, so please do pay attention and see if you can answer them. So what is everything made up of? Everything is made up of atoms. And what are atoms made up of? Atoms are made up of electrons, protons, and neutrons. And where are the electrons, protons, and neutrons? Well, the electrons are orbiting the nucleus, protons are in the nucleus, and neutrons are in the nucleus as well. So let's have a little bit more investigation into the atom. So if we had to match each of these to the blank spaces in the image, where would they go? So number one, electron. Where would the electron go? The electron would go around the outside of the atom. And as you can see, I've actually reduced the size of the electron because the electron is actually significantly smaller than the proton and the neutron. So I've done this diagram to help you remember. Where would the protons go? They would go inside the nucleus. And where would the neutrons go? They would go inside the nucleus as well. So we're now going to do a little discussion on the colours. Why do you think we've chosen these colours? And what colour does each one represent? So we have chosen the electrons to be blue, the protons to be red, and the neutrons to be black. Now this is not going to be an exam question, anything about colours. This is just the colours that I've chosen to help you remember that electrons are negatively charged and protons are positively charged. And neutrons have no charge. So if you don't mind, have a quick go trying to draw out an atom with 2 electrons, 2 protons in the nucleus, and 2 neutrons in the nucleus. So hopefully it would look something like this, and you wouldn't need to colour it in if it was an exam question. Another thing to note is actually often we will draw electrons as an X on the shell of the atom. And this is something that you actually apply when we look at an exam question later on. So a nice little summary. We have the picture of the electron, proton, and neutron. We also have the charge. So the electron is a -1 charge, the proton is a 1 charge, and the neutron has a 0 charge. And the final thing which we only touched on is the relative mass. And that just means that compared to each other, the electron basically weighs nothing, 0. And the proton and neutron, they weigh 1. We're not really talking units here, we're just saying compared to each other, electron is 0, proton is 1, neutron is 1. So just try and remember that in case it comes up in a question in your exams. So what is the charge of an electron, proton and neutron? So the charge of an electron is -1, the charge of a proton is +1, and neutron is 0. What is the relative mass of an electron, proton and neutron? The electron is 0, the proton is 1, and the neutron is 1. Okay, so this is our first exam question. We now need to draw one line from each name to the correct label. So we can see that A is on the outside. We can see that C is also on the outside, but it's just the line, it's not actually the X. We have B and D are inside of the atom. So what do we think matches where? So the answer is that B is a neutron, so there's no charge, and D is a proton because there is a charge. And if we were to ask, well, what is A? We could say it's an electron. Now C actually is not pointing at any of them, so C would actually just be the shell, and it would be the outer shell. Okay, so really great start. Now on to part 2.